in Asia, Latin America, and Africa, initiatives which are emblematic of this fight against desertification and poverty in the framework of the SDGs. The Green Wall is the regional African initiative we identify as the most representative of the will of Africa to address in a synergetic way the fight against desertification, the adaptation to climate change, as well as the preservation and valorization of biodiversity. I think that the most accurate formulation of the Green Wall's objective is inserted in the regional harmonized strategy for the implementation of the Green Wall, elaborated at the launch of the different international programs developed in support of the Green Wall. And this formulation is the following. The overall objective of the Green Wall is to improve the resilience of human and natural systems in Sahel areas faced with climate change through healthy ecosystem management and sustainable development of natural resources, protection of tangible and intangible rural heritage, the development of rural production and sustainable development hubs, improvement of living conditions and livelihoods of people living in these areas. This definition for me is still alive because it embraces the 4 dimensions of sustainable development: the social, economic, environmental, and cultural dimensions. Of course, we are aware of the challenges this initiative, the Green Wall, has to address. Combating poverty in one of the poorest regions in the world, unfortunately also a region where armed conflicts are threatening the stability of countries and societies, combating land degradation in arid zones by promoting sustainable natural resource management, by promoting a local integrated development based on local communities' involvement, women and youth in particular. So, in this context, the question is today to exchange on how science could support the implementation of the Green Wall, and furthermore, for us, how Desertification International could play a role in this way. It's a brief introduction to this event, and I would say, in conclusion to this brief introduction, that our hope is that through the presentation and discussions, you could provide us with guidelines and pathways to positively link science and human development in this holistic vision of one planet, one Earth. So thank you for your attention for this introduction, and if you may, we can start the first part of our event by the presentations, which will be followed then by a roundtable. We will have 4 presentations, and the first one is in fact a speech presented by a statement done by Mr. Paul Elvis Tangem. Elvis is the coordinator of the Green Wall Initiative at the African Union Commission. The Green Wall Initiative is a Pan-African flagship program of the African Union, and Dr. Tangem will tell us about the role of the Green Wall Initiative in addressing global challenges and the role of women, youth, and poor in combating desertification. Elvis, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much, my big brother Youssef, and thanks everybody, and I welcome everybody from the headquarters of the African Union here in Addis Ababa. Yes, so you've given me the very heavy task of talking about the Green Wall and how it's supporting the search for sustainable solutions to current global challenges and the role of women, the inclusive nature of the Green Wall. Unfortunately, because of time, I usually get confused when I have to rush with a PowerPoint presentation. So when the time is not long enough, I prefer to talk, because if not, I will want to be following the slide, and then it would cause a lot of time. So as far as the Great Green Wall is concerned, as Joseph has said, the Great Green Wall is a Pan-African land restoration and sustainable land management initiative that was launched in 2005, 2007, and it has gone through a lot of policy. It's one of those initiatives that was generated by the policymakers themselves, and so within the framework of the African Union, it's considered as one of the key flagship programs of the Africa Agenda 2063. As you may know, Africa Agenda 2063 is the 50 years indigenous development program that was developed by the Africa Union member states and endorsed by all the 55 countries of the African Union. So the Great Green Wall is about sustainable land management. Generally, when it started, it was considered as a forestation and agroforestry program. Yes, that was the general idea. The whole idea was about stopping the advancement of the Sahara Desert that was creeping into the Sahel and causing a lot of havoc. Yes, that was the idea. But when you look at the reality on the ground, you realize that for you to be able to plant trees, for you to be able to allow trees to grow, there is a lot that you have to do. You plant a tree in a dry land where there are animals that are hungry, where there are farmers that need firewood, where there are animals that need to be fed, where there is a need for water. And so planting of trees or growing of trees cannot be done in isolation. So after a series of scientific analysis, it moved away from the trees to what we call adopting what we generally refer to as a landscape approach. That is an approach where you don't have to focus on one aspect of restoration. You need to undertake a broad-based restoration to be able to maintain what you have done. And so it moved, there was a metamorphosis that it moved now from the agroforestry and afforestation program to a mosaic of sustainable land and water management activities. And as we speak today, it also has been moving both thematically and geographically. From the fact that it started as an agroforestry and a forestry program, it now moved into climate smart agriculture, into conservation agriculture. It moved into supporting the development of non-timber forest value chains, into capacity building, firefighting. And then later on, we started having activities like energy transition, like in Nigeria, where energy transition is a big issue now. They are using solar panels and to generate renewable energy in some of the Great Green Wall communities. And so it has been moving up to the level now. We have also issues like programs like community fodder and rangeland management. So there is a lot of issues, activities that are going on within the framework of the Great Green Wall. But one of the key issues of the Great Green Wall is the policy. This is an area that is never really looked. The policy aspect is very, very important. And as we speak, apart from the 11 countries of the Sahel that were part of the Great Green Wall, we have Algeria, we have Egypt, and there is also Morocco that has signaled its interest in getting on board the Great Green Wall. And even Tunisia also has signaled that they want to also start implementation, because all the countries in the Sahara region, north of the Sahara, were pioneer members when the whole idea of the Great Green Wall was being created. And as of 2015, we have now started the extension of the Great Green Wall to the Southern Africa region. The 15 countries of the Southern Africa region, we have developed their sub-regional strategy, and we have started developing strategic documents in all the countries. And so let me come back to when you say, how is the Great Green Wall solving the global challenges? the Great Green Wall is solving four main challenges. The issue of ecosystem restoration, which is a big challenge. We have seen that if we have never understood that ecosystem can punish the world, we have seen the outbreak of the coronavirus, which is of zoonotic nature. They say it came from our close contact with and consumption of product of biodiversity. And so biodiversity is a big part. Nutrition and hunger is a very big aspect that the Great Green Wall is solving, because by allowing small farmers, smallholder farmers, and small forest farmers to engage in agroforestry, to engage in afforestation, you are providing food, you are providing job creation. And by supporting women, like with the multipurpose gardening that we have in Senegal, it's now in Nigeria, and it started in the Gambia, you realize that we are supporting women not only to enhance their nutrition, but also we are creating entrepreneurs out of these women, because many of them now are getting into market gardening, selling a lot of this product. Another important solution that the Great Green Wall is bringing yourself is the issue of pastoralism. As you know very well, 60% of the activities in our part of the drylands is about pastoralism. It's not even perennial farming. Pastoralism here, which means a free ranging of animals, cattle, sheep, goats, camels, donkeys. All of these animals are part and parcel of our lives in the Sahel and in the drylands of Africa. So one of the things that the Great Green Wall is doing is to provide a rangeland, to enhance rangeland, sustainability of the rangeland, because it's a big, big problem in this region, especially when you look at the Lake Chad region that has almost completely been degraded. And you realize that this region has some of the highest numbers of animals. When you look reduction of the land, of the sustainability of the land, you look at increase in human population and increase in animal population. You mix this together, you will have what is happening today, the conflict that is existing between natural resource stakeholders is bigger than all the terrorist activities that we are talking in the Sahel now. I was in Chad a few weeks ago, I was in Nigeria, and their biggest problem is the conflict especially between farmers and graziers. And these are emerging challenges that the Great Green Wall needs to look at. And because if we don't look at it, every other thing that we are going to do is going to be destroyed by the conflict. And most of this conflict is about natural resources. It's about natural resources. So we are looking at that. And another area, which is the long-term impact of the Great Green Wall, is about community building. We have, by supporting a restoration of the communities, by supporting and building a relationship between the various stakeholders, we are building the communities. We are bringing back communities that had disappeared. If you know the case of Baptouba area in Senegal, where communities used to disappear, but today the communities are stable. I was in Senegal also 2 weeks ago, and we're looking at the impacts. They told us a community that used to be, the schools were closed, the hospitals were closed, but today you have about 250 youth in those schools. You have the hospitals that are fully functional because of the activities around the Great Green Wall. So not only the Great Green Wall, land restoration, sustainable land management provide sustainable solutions to the challenges we have today. If you look at the challenges of migration, which is a huge one, the best way is to involve these children, and that is one of the axes that we are looking. Those are part of what we call the emerging challenges or emerging opportunities that are being looked at in the Great Green Wall. You know very well that the Great Green Wall has really supported to mainstream the issues of land degradation and desertification. If you look at the results of the last One Planet Summit, where global leaders came together and pledged almost $19 billion for land restoration. This was the result of the Great Green Wall. And one of the biggest aspects was is the engagement of our policymakers. Without the engagement of our policymakers, without the advocacy that they have been doing, without the sensitization and the talk that they talk in their diplomatic quarters, we will never have reached at this level. Bring all the NGOs together, they will never have mobilized this high policymakers. So these are some of the way that the Great Green Wall is providing solutions to global challenges. And I think we need to give a lot of credit to our policymakers for being at the forefront, for talking with their colleagues, for sensitizing the global leaders on the need to support restoration. And today, restoration has become one of the main solutions. It has been recognized, and I'm very, very sure, as you are, Joseph, that the Great Green Wall has contributed immensely to bringing the issues of land degradation, the issues of drought, the issues of dust storms, and also the opportunities that exist in the drylands of Africa in the forefront. Yes, the Great Green Wall has really helped in bringing in some of these things. And for women and youth, you can look at the report that was published by, we published with UNCCD and partners. You realize that when they talk about the 50,000 jobs that were created, Joseph, more than 70% of these jobs were for women. Women are our main actors. If you look at the contribution of programs, and I'm sure Nora is going to talk about it, actions against desertification, most of the actors are the women. So women control how the soil is, they control the economic activities in rural areas. They control farming, they control the water, they control, they are both actors in this thing. So you cannot avoid them. By default, you must work with women. The challenges that we've been having is how to get the youth involved. But with the new programs, like with the Great Green Wall Accelerator and the priority areas, priority programs of the Pan-African Agency, we are going to get the youth involved. And we are already seeing a lot of youth that are interested in the Great Green Wall. Currently, as we speak, I have about 10 PhDs and master students that are working on the Great Green Wall that we are working together for them to publish. So there's a lot of engagement with youth, especially we are encouraging them to use their knowledge in the new technology, in the social media, in all what they do today to be able to support implementation. Yeah, so it's a huge sector that we still need to build on for enhancing implementation in our member states. Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you very much, Elvis. Thank you very much for this statement. I am very happy that you introduced the Great Green Wall as the first presentation, because you know we are far with your presentation. You understand that we are far from this basic idea that the Great Green Wall is just afforestation, and you presented the complexity of the situation and the fact that to address global challenges, we need an integrated approach covering all the issues, and I thank you very much for that. I give now the floor to Professor Rosa Maria Pock. Professor Pock, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Joseph. It's a pleasure to talk to you and to see you all.
Thank you. If I may just introduce you a little bit to say that you are agronomist, soil scientist, and micromorphologist. You are also chair of the Intergovernmental Technical Panel on Soils, ITPS, at the FAO, and member of the Soil and Water Research Group at the University of Leida. That's what I know from you for that. Today you wish to talk about sustainable land management. Is the title of your presentation, but in fact to combat desertification. But it's the heart of the UNCCD Convention we are going to talk about. You may wish to say some words on the ITPS prior to your presentation?
Well, in fact, I'm going to talk about the activities of ITPS and of the Global Soil Partnership in my presentation. So I think that it would be better if I just start from the beginning.
So you have the floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So if you allow me, I will share my screen. I have some slides to share with you. Yeah, here, share, and then presentation, and then like that. I hope that you see my presentation now.
Yes.
And yeah, the title of my presentation is Sustainable Land Management, Combat Desertification. This picture is of the village where I live, yeah, near Lleida, with vineyards with green cover between them, a practice that was not done this, let us say 20 years ago, but now more and more people is doing this. So it's just an example of how things can change. Yeah, I think that I'm very happy to have listened to the first presenter, to Paul and to you, stressing the fact that land management and soil management to combat desertification should be addressed from an integrated approach. And I'm going to talk about this in my talk. Well, FAO and the Global Soil Partnership published, and I think that it was in 2017, the voluntary guidelines for sustainable soil management, and in general, not only for places with desertification risk, but everywhere in the soils of the world. And the sustainable management is to maintain or improve soil services. Yeah, several kinds of soil services: support, provisioning, regulation, and cultural, and in a continuous or sustained way a long time. Then, if we talk about what kind of sustainable soil management practices we can apply to achieve this, we should not forget what are the causes. Yeah, so we have several drivers of degradation. In places with desertification risk are mainly deforestation, climate change, and in general, unsustainable soil management practices. And then types of soil degradation, the ones that are in these areas are mainly soil biodiversity, a loss, salinization, acidification, compaction, erosion, and loss of organic carbon. So we have these types of soil degradation that in these areas bring about mainly water scarcity, yeah, for many uses, for plants and in general for the society. So if we have a look to the sustainable soil management practices or activities, we see that they are not only the ones we already know of keeping soil surface covered, use nutrients wisely, crop rotation, blah, 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 but also many social and economical and policy measures. Yeah, so all this has to be implemented together, as the previous speakers have said. So the objectives of sustainable soil management, according to these voluntary guidelines, are 10, yeah, and the ones that are in bold are the main objectives we should focus or we should look for in areas prone to desertification. The thing is that some of them are synergic. So when we want, for instance, to enhance organic matter content, we are at the same time minimizing soil erosion because we are increasing soil resistance to erosion, Also, we are preserving and enhancing soil biodiversity when we increase organic matter. Yeah, when we improve soil water management, we can prevent, minimize, and mitigate soil salinization and alkalinization. I mean, there are many measures, many objectives that with one measure are synergic. But there are also some that can be conflicting. So it's not always win-win, but we have to look as we have said before, in this holistic way, we have to look at the whole system to know the effectivity of these measures. So the sustainable soil management practices to combat desertification are site-specific. So what do we want to achieve in a given place? Depend on the degree of implementation and expertise, must operate at the catchment scale, because when we want to improve availability of water, there are on-site and off-site effects. Look, for instance, in soil erosion. Yeah? Must consider social and economical frames, and must be of public interest. So they have to be beneficial for the people that live in that place. I put a butterfly here because sometimes with one measure, yeah, we can have a butterfly effect. So we have a consequence in the system that was not intended. Yeah. So it requires a deep knowledge of the systems where we are working on. So I'm going to. So in 10 minutes, it's impossible to give a course on what are the soil management practices to combat desertification, but I will only highlight 2 or 3 points. I think that they are important to consider. The first one is water management. So when we manage water, since the cycle of the water cycle is it's complex and is holistic, it does not act only in the place where what infiltrates and plants use it, but water management to increase water availability is always a compromise between soil water availability for plants and river discharge and aquifer recharge. What happens when we have a tree cover, for instance? We have the same rain in the two places, here with bare land, soil cover. We have here higher infiltration. We have here interception and water loss by interception. Then we have little runoff, and then we have a part of the water that has infiltrated that is going to recharge the aquifers. What happens if we don't have this tree cover? We have lower infiltration because the soil condition, the soil condition is worse. We have higher runoff. We will have more river discharge, but we will have less recharge of the aquifers. Yeah, and we have less, of course, we have less interception by cover crops, by cover trees. What does it mean? That here we have more infiltration, we have less runoff, but the quality of the water here is better. Here, the quality of the water that is running off and going to rivers is worse because it has a concentration of soil that is being eroded. So it is well known by many, many experiences that when you have general afforestation, yeah, you have decrease of water in rivers. Yeah, so they don't talk about the quality of the waters, yeah, but there is a decrease, yeah, and there are many reports that talk that already in 1997, yeah, with a meta-analysis, you see that there is a relation between percent of area reforested to deforested and change of annual stream flow. I don't want to say that the trees are bad. Of course not, because they are beneficial for the people that live there. Yeah. And also to counteract these statements, there is also the theory of the biotic pump with big tree covers, with big forests at the continental scale, that they act as a pump of wet air that comes from the oceans. This is true mostly at coastal lines. Yeah, so forests can trap and can attract wet air and increase rain in several places. Yeah, and this is more effective the bigger or the larger is the forest. Another fact that is very often overlooked is the net rain brought about fogs at the coastal lines or in highlands of continents. Yeah, that is intercepted by trees, and then it creates it's a positive feedback effect. Yeah, and then it increases soil humidity, and if we remove this forest, then the conditions of the soil, the water regime of the soil is changed forever. Yeah. So all these effects have to be taken into account. Another aspect I wanted to stress is related to the value of the plants and the biotic communities that live in desert places. Yeah. So I think that is not completely valued, or when we talk about, I start from the other side. When we talk about soil biodiversity or ecosystem biodiversity, very often when you map this, you get indices of biodiversity. The more biodiverse, the better. But very seldom you focus on the value of given species that live in extreme environments. So these plants are heroes. Yeah, these plants and microorganisms are heroes because they live in dry places and in saline places, and they have genetic heritage, let us say, that is extremely valuable because to live in these extreme environments. So these genes that are adapted to these places have really a great value for genetic engineering to be introduced in some plants and to get resistance of crops to these environments. So these are strategies of adaptation to these environments, and I think that is what we should look for. Also, another conflicting issue is salinity management through irrigation. Yeah. So when I studied agricultural engineering and I was given the course on irrigation, I was taught that for to fight against irrigation, the irrigation of saline soils, I should add a leaching fraction, and I learned to calculate this leaching fraction. So what to do, how to do this when in the future, in the frame of climate change, we'll have less and less water, yeah, and that the system of irrigation are going to more efficient irrigation systems, yeah, with less water. So how to leach out these salts, or how to manage, yeah. So this is a great field of research and finding engineering solutions here to achieve this, so to avoid further salinization of lands when we irrigate them. Also, another aspect is the degree of implementation of sustainable management practices. And this is in relation to what I said at the beginning of the specificity of the site-specific measures and how they are implemented. Look, these are traditional terracing in a vineyard area in Catalonia with traditional terrace. This is sustainable, yeah. but this requires a lot of manpower. The thing is that due to a very clever marketing strategy, this area, the prices of the wines here have increased a lot. Yeah, so people is buying land and are making terraces like that. And the result is in some places, they are having this kind of processes. So mass movements and and they destroy the soil, in fact. So the paradox is that these lands, for some time, they received subsidies from the European Union to make this terracing, because terracing, just this word terracing, it was enough to have subsidies. But they didn't look to the consequences of this implementation. Yeah, so, well, now the things that have changed, but just to give you this concept of the need of good management practice implementation. And then just, I think that this is the last slide, or the one last slide, different activities of the ITPS and the Global Soil Partnership, yeah, in relation to avoiding soil degradation. Inventories of soil organic carbon, sequestration map that is going to be launched very shortly, the map of soil erosion that is being done now, and also the global map of salt-affected soils that is also being done. Also, the project of REC soil, recarbonization of global soils, to improve storage of carbon and carbon sequestration, and at the same time improve the quality of soils. The protocol for the assessment of sustainable soil management, with several parameters that have to be assessed. The global assessment of soil pollution, the state of knowledge of soil biodiversity that was launched some months ago, the Global Symposium of Soil Affected Soils, an international network on salt-affected soils, yeah, whose president is Jorge Valdesales. And if you enter the website of GSP, you will have the access to all these documents. So thank you very much for your attention. Yeah, this graffiti, I would think that is not enough soils, is not enough soils. Yeah, so let us take care of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Pock. I am sure that we will have a lot of questions for the roundtables. I did an interesting confusion in the beginning, because I said you're going to talk about sensible land management, and you talk about sensible soil management. It's very interesting because, in fact, you are addressing the link between science and policymakers. When we talk about sensible soil management, we need you as a scientist to explain the situation and to give us guidance on the expectation, what we can expect if we do so and that. But sensible land management is a kind of policy. So they have to be in touch with you in order to decide for the landscape and for all this kind of planning. So thank you very much. For me, I understand more clearly the link between the scientists and the decision makers in relationship with this Green Wall initiative, which is a kind of process of landscape, of planning, and we need science. That's you give us some. And the second idea, very interesting for me also, is that you need traditional knowledge. When you are talking about biodiversity, you are always obliged to refer to the traditional knowledge. This is something very positive for me. Thank you very much. And if you may, we can give the floor to Dr. Mamadou Koutou. Mamadou?
Yes.
Yes. Mamadou, you are online?
Yes,
okay.
I can hear you.
Good afternoon. Okay,
yes,
thank you.
Good afternoon.
So Mamadou is a senior research and program officer at EU SAFGRAD, which means the African Union Semi-Arid Food, Grain Research and Development Center. And if I am not wrong, Koutou, EU Safeguard is the lone scientific institution in the organigram of the African Union Commission.
Exactly.
No?
Yes.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So
Right.
we are very proud to have you on board for this event. And Dr. Kutu will tell us about the role of science in combating desertification in Africa under the framework of the UNCCP. So you have the floor, Mamadou.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you really for associating EU Safeguard to this important celebrating event. And we really want to thank DNI for really thinking of associating Safeguard to the event. So good morning or good afternoon to participants according to your respective time zone. Here I'm going to give a short presentation on the use of science in combating desertification in Africa, but more specifically under the umbrella of the UNCCP. So as you all know, at the continental level, the African Union, the African head of state and government in 2014, during this 22 ordinary summit, renewed the commitment to combating desertification in Africa. So the head of state have at that time pledged for the commitment to implement the UNCCP protocol to address the issues of land degradation, desertification, biodiversity loss, and also the effect of drought to promote sustainable development on the continent. And at the time, the head of state also requested the African Union Commission to support the regional economic communities and also the member states, in collaboration with partners like financial and the technical partners to review the regional action plan to combat desertification. And I think that this the webinar today in collaboration with DNA, part of the support from DNA as the technical partners to really come up with the substantive recommendation on how to combat desertification on the continent. So in response to those decisions made by the head of state, the African Union Safeguard as this, specialized technical office working in...
Sorry, Mamadou. The camera is not on. We hear, but we don't see.
I have some. Yeah,
you have some
I have been told by the yes, I have been told that my camera has been corrupted and the internal camera of the laptop has been corrupted. I think we're working to see if we can get the external camera to connect. And
so you cannot share the slides.
Yes. No, I will share the slide. Definitely, I will be able to share the slide. Let me see how.
Yes, it's okay.
Can you see?
Yes, we can see.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I will just mention that to respond to those decisions, the African Union office called Safeguard, it's the specialized technical office working in dryland area. We have prepared a series of study, and that has been submitted to the policy organ. And one of those studies aims to having a concrete recommendation for strengthening the role of science and technology in combating desertification in Africa. So this particular study really started a good investigation and drew recommendation and how to strengthen the role of science and technology. More particularly, how we make sure that the science and technical correspondent of the UNCCP and also the linkage with the national focal point and all the other policymakers will be in helping to implement the convention on the continent. So my presentation today will follow those items that's mentioned here. A couple of slides on Safeguard. Some of the participants here may not be very familiar with what is Safeguard. I will be also giving a general context on the use of science and technology, the objectives and the goals of your study, the outcome and recommendation, and a little bit focus on the Center of Excellence on desertification in Africa. So quickly, I would say that in response to the recurrent drought, the African Union, the African head of state in 1977 has established the Safeguard, which stands for Semi-Arid Fruit Growing Research and Development as the moderators have previously mentioned. In 2003, the office has been institutionalized as the specialized office of the African Union under the Department of Rural Economy and Agriculture. So the duty that was assigned to the office at the time with the facilitation of agricultural research and development through the advocacy, coordination, and networking with the aim to promote the research, technology transfer, dissemination of some technology for the improvement of livelihood in the region. So briefly, the mandate is to lead, coordinate, and facilitate the formulation of appropriate policies and programs that would help to build the resilience of rural livelihood in semi-arid zone of Africa through strengthening of institutional capacity aimed at advancing agricultural research, technology transfer, adoption of technologies, so on and so forth. So as achievements so far, it can be categorized in three main items: the development of the technology, including seeds, soil technology, so on and so forth. Also, the building the national research capacity through the capacity building of researchers, both long-term research and also some short-term training capacity. And at last, we have the networking and the publication activity. Coming up to the context of the implementation of the Convention on in Africa. In 2013, the African head of state have made a resolution on the need to strengthen the African leadership in the convention in the UNCCD convention. And also in 2014, they have also stressed the need on strengthening the implementation of the convention to combat desertification in Africa. And also one of the things that we have noticed, it was during the UNCCD CST conference in Cancun, Mexico, where it has revealed a very weak participation and contribution of the African scientists to the deliberation at that time. So coming for this background, the office has commended a series of studies that I have previously stated. The first one was to strengthen the implementation of the UNCCD Convention in Africa, and the second study was to strengthen the role of science and technology in combating desertification in Africa. So the objective of the study first was to have a really comprehensive analysis of the regional implementation mechanism of the UNCCD, and the second one, how to organize the African scientific and technical activity within the UNCCD framework. And for this, it has been, we have come up with a series of information like the development of the regional action plan, organizing the cooperation among the Center of Excellence, organizing reflection and pilot action on the land degradation natural world, and also the contribution of to the CST work on the organization of international and interdisciplinary scientific views to support the convention process. And one of the issues also was to be able to come up with the priority of land degradation and desertification at national level. It was very important. And also to strengthen the collaboration of the national focal point and the science and technical correspondent of the UNCCD at national and sub-regional level. And also how to support those national focal point and the scientific correspondent to the Committee of Science and Technology of the UNCCD. So briefly, the activity and involvement of science and technology in national action program and also the regional action program with the use of possible network and collaboration in projects and some specific program. And one of the thing that was also that came up from the study is the establishment of new or even to revive some existing center of excellence to promote the collaboration of science and technology in Africa. And at last, we have this operationalization of the science and policy interface of the UNCCD that the moderator, Mr. Ibrahim, have sometime earlier on said a little bit. So, what are the key recommendations that came up from those studies? First one was to promote the collaboration between the scientists, the STCs, and other scientists, which are not necessarily through the UNCCD framework, but there are also scientists doing some very good research on land management, soil scientists, so on and so forth, and also to make the link with the policy maker, both at the national and sub-regional level. It was also been recommended to have the regular meeting at least once every 2 years between the scientists, among the scientists first, and also between the scientists and the national focal point and the policy makers at different levels. We also recommended that the RCU, the regional coordination unit, should be more active and promote the collaboration and dialogue among the two actors, nationally and also regionally. It also came that we need to monitor and evaluate the scientific activity and initiative and how they can be part of the policy plan that are specific to the NAPs and tribes more regularly and adjust when it is really necessary. It has been also recommended to improve the awareness and the capacity building of the whole stakeholder, not only the scientists, but even the policymaker, to improve, to build the capacity about the goal and objective of the UNCCD, and make sure that all the information and the technical material are made available for all of them. And also to make sure that the resources, including the funding that can encourage and facilitate the SLM and policy intervention to combat desertification, are really used effectively at the different level. And at last, the STCs, the NFPs, and also the representative of the STRAP should have a common position at the CST meeting and COP discussion. That it's really interesting for the continent. And I already talked a little bit about the need to develop and have those centers of excellence to be operational in helping the scientists to inform the policy maker. So I think this one I'm not going to go deeply in this because those are the information that was already available. I think worldwide it has been selected 15 centers of excellence, and one of the things that we wanted to, when we decided to establish or revive the Center of Excellence in Africa, we have been discussing with the National Research Foundation in South Africa, and they came up with kind of criteria how we are going to select those Centers of Excellence and support them and make sure that they can really help in the implementation of the convention. So some of those criteria are those Centers of Excellence should be based on research. There should be education and training, a portfolio. They should be able to share information and the networking, and also to provide some specific services. In order for those Centers of Excellence to be really effective, they should follow some key conditions like having a very good, effective governance and management, appropriate staffing and initiators, institutional commitment, appropriate location, and effective funding. In Africa, like I said, worldwide we have 15 Centers of Excellence, but in Africa, 5 has been already selected, and maybe we need to work closely with them to make sure that if it is needed to have more and capacitate them and able to help in the implementation of the convention. So to finish, I'm saying that this is the scientific setup under the UNCCD implementation now on the continent. But we think that the capacity building support program, to the universities, and all those training centers can be really encouraged, and that will enhance the implementation of the contribution of the convention, and more particularly the contribution for African scientists to the CSTs, master degrees, PhDs, preparation, in link with the continent priority in terms of land degradation. Desertification should be really integrated in the contribution of the African scientists. So this takes me to the end of my presentation, and I wish to thank you very much for listening, and I will be around for more clarification and questions. Thank you, moderator. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kutu. I'm very pleased with your presentation because you address the issue of how to strengthen African scientific capacities for for the development of African programs. And I had the honor to be involved in these studies, and what we were looking for, and you use it for your different programs is how to do so that the priorities can be identified by Africans. How the policy can be managed by Africans. And you know that to build partnership, you must be able to say what you want. And it was all the purpose of support to the Organization of Science in Africa and support to the UNCCD implementation, how to involve all the African scientists in this kind of process like UNCCD, and now the Great Green Wall, because it's the same challenge. How to do so that the African scientists can be involved in the development processes and not only using their expertise at university or with regard to foreign institutions. Thank you very much, Dr. Koutou. So we will last with Dr. Nora Berahmouni. Nora?
Yes,
Here?
hi, yes.
Hi.
Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon again, Nora. May I introduce you very briefly? You are a forest ecologist, specialized on dryland. Nora is currently working as a senior regional forestry officer at the FAO Regional Office for Africa, leading climate change and forest and landscape sustainable management and restoration programs in the region. She is currently the secretary of the FAO African Forestry and Wildlife Commission. And I know that she is very familiar with the Great Green Wall, as she designed and implemented the first FAO EU project in support of the Great Green Wall more than 10 years ago. And she provided the continuous support to this initiative during these years through a set of development projects. Nora, you have the floor to talk. Mobilizing science and communities in Africa's Great Green Wall. Please.
Thank you very much, Youssef, and all the colleagues, and also thanks so much for DesertNet International for inviting me in this very, very important event. Let me just try to share my screen. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. I will try to put it on, yeah. Okay, so thank you very much. I think the previous speakers have made my life maybe easier because they framed a bit, you know, all the nitty-gritty things that need really to be taken into consideration when we talk about combating desertification, restoring degraded land, and bringing about, of course, the importance of biodiversity, of soils, of policy, of drivers of degradation, etc., etc. So I will be focusing my talk mainly by providing just in few highlights, because we will not have a lot of time, and also for the interest of time for discussions later, in few slides a bit examples on what has been happening within the Great Green Wall, mainly through the support of FAO's program, which is called Action Against Desertification in support of the Great Green Wall. This is one of the main projects or programs, but I'm talking about this one because it really has actually focused on a lot of implementation on the ground, putting at the heart of the implementation science and communities. The program has been implemented since July 2014, first starting with 6 countries within the Great Green Wall, the green spots, and then with the funding from FAO, but also a lot of funding from the European Union and ACP Secretariat in collaboration with the African Union Commission, the Pan-African Agency of the Great Green Wall, and the national agencies and communities and NGOs on the ground. And then this project has been also expanded, deployed further in other 3 countries, including Sudan, Eritrea, and Mauritania, with also the kind support, financial support from the Turkish cooperation. A quick, reminder for those maybe who could not, were not maybe here at the beginning of this event. We are talking about the Great Green Wall as a mosaic, of productive and resilient landscapes and livelihoods that has been certainly supported and built by heads of states and government to address multiple challenges, social, economic, and environmental, so including climate change, desertification, biodiversity loss, poverty, food insecurity, and so on. So energy security, water security, and so on. So a lot of challenges, and one of the priority intervention areas that have been identified through all the planning processes that FAO, for example, with the UNCCD and the global mechanism have supported the member countries in their planning and strategies was restoration, And when I talk about restoration, it's not about forestation or afforestation or planting, trees on the ground, but it's really encompassing different strategies, different situations and approaches. So, and at the heart of it, at the start of it, we have been using certainly science. Science from one side, like, for example, tools for assessing the baseline, what is the situation of the land and the land use change in those areas that are targeted by this project, and not only the biophysical situation but also the socioeconomic situation, and maybe just to bring about the importance of all the different science disciplines, including not only ecology, environment, forestry sciences, natural resources sciences, but also social anthropology and economic sciences. So all of these have been really put together, and we worked, for example, in this case with different universities, including in the Sahel, but also even in Italy, Viterbo University, to design a very good and let's say comprehensive, survey to have, to do the, for example, the socioeconomic surveys, for instance. But for the biophysical one, we have been using a tool that we have developed in close collaboration with Google. This tool that is called Collect Earth, which is a tool that helps collect data of different for example, characteristics, including different land use and, for example, forestry, crops, etc., in order to identify how is the situation currently, and then after that, using the same indicators to measure the progress across, around time. And in this situation where we have issues, with COVID and we could not travel, we could exactly collect data of the changes using this tool, which uses actually very good imagery, satellite imagery that are not, that are available in Google Suite. So that was really very important. The second is also using already the lessons learned and the experiences from different projects and programs in the drylands worldwide, but also within Africa. For example, we developed what we call the FAO global guidelines for restoring degraded forests and landscapes in drylands, building resilience and benefiting livelihoods, and all also the lessons learned that have been compiled through this project within these 5 years have been actually published in this manual, which is called the Restoration in Action Against Desertification. It exists in French, in English, and in Arabic. And you can, of course, find all these tools using these website links when after, of course, I will share the presentation with the organizers. And the other thing also is not just talking and thinking about what is going on on the land, but also looking at the whole value chains of the products from the land. So let's go very bit deeply in the discussion. For instance, before restoring, you need to discuss. So one of the let's say the model for restoration within this project was really to put communities at the center, working with them, consulting them to identify from one side where they want to restore. What are the land areas, whether they are private or communal lands, to restore, and of course discuss with the municipality to ensure that this land has, that communities have an agreement with the municipality to ensure the tenure of this land, and also identify why restoring, so the objectives for restoration, and communities identifying themselves what they want to use as a plant or to plant or to seed and to, in their land. So they were the ones, through a survey that we have prepared and developed and conducted with the communities, they have identified over 200 species of plants they wanted to see back in their land. Not just trees, but also grasses, shrubs that are very important for them, for medicines, for health, for food, for feed, for fuel, for social use, for veterinary medicine, for honey production, for example, for construction or any other or building or any other uses. So we really started with them to understand what they need, and they know their plants, they know their uses, but then we brought the science, combined to these needs and to this knowledge, the local knowledge, and we ensured that to prioritize those species that are more adapted to the local condition, and also understand and help them mobilize the seeds for these species, because many of the species they wanted to have back, they couldn't find the seeds, because in the tree seed centers, for example, in Ouagadougou or in Yame, they were using a number of species, really very very small number of species, and many of them were not at all having seeds for grasses, like herbaceous species. So there was a need to provide the science, the knowledge, the technical capacity to the local communities in collaboration with the seed centers and FAO experts to harvest the seeds, how they should harvest the seed, and handling the seed and preparing the planting of in the tree nurseries, etc. And of course, some seeds needed just seeding, sowing directly, and some others there was a combination, of course, in preparing seedlings, but they were all native species. These were all biodiversity from the Sahel. So that was really a very important point. And from the other side, we have been also working with institutes, research institutes. For example, I give you just one example, and from many, this Institute of INERA, Institute for Environmental and Agriculture Research, institute in Ouagadougou, and with whom we have been partnering with the professor as well as her students to, from one side, help in the monitoring of the plant growth and the restoration areas from one side, but also bring in mycorrhization, approaches like, inoculating bacteria in those seedlings in order, or seeds or seedlings, in order to make sure that the plants are really boosting really the good growth of this species. So this is just to give you one example from those, partnerships we got with science that is existing in FAO, but also outside FAO in the research centers and the seed centers. The second example I could give, also, you spoke about it already, water. Water is the limiting factor, an important factor equally as the biodiversity. And know that there are very good knowledge and technical, know-how by the local communities, digging the half moons, in order to harvest the water before the rain arrives, so that we could, so that the plants could have water to grow, the seeds and the plant and the planting and the seedlings planted, so that have the water for them to grow during the dry season. So what has been done in this case, and I think this person, many of my Italian friends here, researchers, would know, and maybe even globally know this person, who I'm so sorry and so sad, to talk about him, because he is not anymore with us here, Ingegnere Venanzio Vallerani, who have invented this prototype of this plow, the Delfino, calling it as a Delfino, attached to the tractors, and he was inspired by whom? He was inspired by communities half moon. So he took this knowledge and he adapted this knowledge, creating this mechanized technology in order to go faster to treat and prepare land for water harvesting even deeper and on bigger areas, because combating desertification is really a race against time. So while the traditional half moon could only, for example, it is really slow and it is really, I wouldn't like to do it myself. I wouldn't be able to do it myself. I do not have the skills, neither the capacity as the women and men in the Sahel, but it is really a burden, and it takes 100 people to just dig 1 hectare, and then the water that is collected is maybe less than the water that would have been collected by the mechanized area. So, and the cost of investment is really, in the long run, is cheaper by using this mechanized technology. And so, and you could see just some pictures, because we cannot go to the field. We are in a virtual reality. These are really pictures from the land, how this technology has been used in order to prepare land for water harvesting before the rain, and then all the grass and all the trees and the grass that have been harvested already, the grass already during the first year after seeding. So it's really very important for the local communities to get already benefits at a shorter term, and having a diversity of species used within the landscape or within the land is really creating such diversification of income also for the communities. And of course, we were not really stopping here, but working on the whole value chain, as it was for fodder, but also for gamma rabbit and many other products. Like there were like 10 non-timber products that were used for providing income. And finally, this is my last slide to say that what has been done through this project is really to create the model. There are results, good results, but when you look at Africa, the drylands of Africa from north to south, and based on this, data collection and analysis technology, Collect Earth, we have estimated that there is a need, a potential of over 220 million hectares in need of restoration in drylands. Okay, so how are we going to do that? It's only by bringing the science and the communities and the different partners together. And we have, as you know, the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration that now has been launched on the 5th of June. That could also provide an opportunity to, to mobilize more partners and more support, whether it's financial, technical, scientific, human, etc., in the area, and also working together with the UN Decade of Family Farming that is also looking, I think by combining the possibilities and the opportunities between these two UN decades and the UN Food System Summit and Nutrition that is really coming in September 2021, we could really make a difference all together for supporting, the implementation of the Great Green Wall. And I will stop here. I would like to thank you very much. I know it was really very short time, but I will be happy to respond to any question and also to follow up after, through email and through exchanges, because I will be really very much interested to see also your feedback and also to exchange and learn from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nora. I am sure that you will have a lot of questions during the roundtable. Thank you very much, because what is interesting is that FAO has to be on board for the continuous support to the Green Wall, because you are different from the other agencies. You are not a bank. So your approach is very different. You're a scientific, a technical agency. So your approach is very specific, and we need you. Thank you. So I turn to Chiara. Maybe we have some minutes before.
Yes, we can take a short break, and I can share a couple of videos that we asked to DNI members, and so that we can have a break, but also look at some videos from them, and then we can all get back here and go on with the roundtable discussion.
In how minutes?
I think it's just going to be 2 videos, so it's probably 5 minutes in total.
Okay.
And we can have a 10 minutes break if you prefer, or we can dive into the discussion right away.
So we can come back in 10 minutes, maybe, for people to rest a little bit. Yeah. In 10
Perfect.
Minutes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Non si sente l'audio, Chiara? Tu lo senti? We don't hear the audio. Can you hear?
No, we don't hear the audio, yeah.
Let me check.
previous year, they also removed regroup.
Can you hear it now?
Yes. Yes, very well. Thank you.
Around April every year, smallholder farmers in Kano and Jigawa, like their counterparts in other dryland states of northern Nigeria, go back to their farm. It is time to prepare the land for the next cropping season while awaiting the onset of uncertain rains. While farmers clear residues from previous year, they also remove regrowths from previously felled trees that refuse to die. Trees appear to lose out in this unending conflict with farmers who prioritize land clearance for food production, but by removing the native stump regrowths, the farmers are losing too. These stumps offer important regeneration opportunities for the local economy, nutrition and health, ecosystem services and livelihoods, particularly for women, but by taking them out, farmers are removing options for their own livelihoods. A team comprising researchers from Nigeria and the UK is investigating the potential for non-irrigated tree regeneration in the drylands to support climate change mitigation and a green economic recovery, funded by the UK government's Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy via its UK Parks programme, which is part of the UK's commitment to international climate finance. This has been possible through a broad-based collaboration with farmer groups, policymakers, women farmers, film industry, art and documentaries. The project shifts Nigeria's dryland regreening paradigm away from prioritization of exotic tree species that are heavily water dependent and which requires infrastructure and seedling production. Local trees can be a more reliable way to combat climate change and desertification in Africa drylands, while also supporting farmers' livelihood.
Hello everyone, my name is Burhanu Zamaddin Burhanu. I am a senior scientist in ICRISAT, working in the area of land and water management. Today I am presenting a highlight on ICRISAT's experience in turning degraded land into land. ICRISAT works to revert degraded land into healthy land with a vision of creating a prosperous, food secure and resilient dryland tropics using combination of technologies and through affordable scaling strategies. Individual technologies are generally developed, adopted, and improved from traditional practices, and they contribute usefully at an individual farm field level. However, a more integrated system that combines farm-to-landscape management technologies are required to foster economic growth and resilience building. In most parts of dryland areas, smallholder farmers, with support from government and NGOs, have developed approaches to turn degraded land into healthy land. However, sound and readily available scaling strategies and processes are required based on biophysical and socioeconomic conditions. One among the many practical experienced ICRISAT works in turning degraded land into healthy land is through bioreclamation of a degraded land. It's called BDL, which is an integrated system that aimed at increasing food production and income of poor farmers through the utilization of degraded lands for production of rain-fed crops, fruit trees and vegetables. And this process is very popular in West Africa region of Niger. Trees are the major components of the BDL. Its application is simple and it has many positive attributes. The potential for adoption is very high, and there are structures that are constructed inside, like the half moon and the zipits, where crops and manure is placed inside. Thank you very much.
Das kennen Sie noch nicht.
Ein schönes Wetter.
Mhm. Unglaublich. Hm? Ich.
I think we can start, Yusuf.
Yes, we can start. Is it possible to start?
Yes, I think we're good.
It's okay. I see that Professor N. Giuseppe is with us. Giuseppe?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. I think you have some words to say about the fact that our colleagues and friend Khatali from Tunisia passed away.
Yes, it is so. So, dear friend, it is a sad time for me. On the day when the World Day on Desertification Draw is commemorated, all over in the world, all over in the country, I have to remember a Tunisian colleague and friend who unfortunately left us. Professor Khatali, director for many years of the IRA, the Institute of Dry Areas in Tunisia, unfortunately has been lacking the affection of his loved ones and collaborators and all of those like me who remember him with a great esteem and admiration. Khatali was a very accredited scientific personality, and in the time has established an important network of contacts with major scientific institutions of several continents. I had a special relationship with Khatali. On several occasions, he has carried out projects and researches on desertification with an R&D of Sassari University. He hosted our students of the master's degree in desertification at the IRA for training internship. Always with generosity was a characteristic of Khatali and availability. I am sure that even in his new dimension, Professor Catelli is still with us in our heart, celebrating with us this important World Day on desertification. We'll pray for him. I thank all for you for remember him. I thank you, Youssef, for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Giuseppe. It's a very, very sad news today because everyone knew him for many years now. May he rest in peace. Thank you. So, colleagues, we can start the roundtable. Unfortunately, Dr. Robin Duponnois sent me a message. He cannot attend the second phase of our event because he has some emergency. He's very sorry for that, but we will keep in touch because he's a representative of the French Scientific Committee on Desertification, and the CSFD and the DNI have a long traditional links, and so we will keep in touch with the CSFD. Now we have all the colleagues who made their presentations, and in addition to them, we invited experts, special guests, in addition to our speakers, who are Professor Giovanna Sedaiu. Are you here, Giovanna?
Yes.
Okay. Giovanna, she is professor from the Desertification Research Center of Università of Sassari, and you are also Secretary General of Desertification International. We have also Professor Jorge Vázquez Sales from the University of Valencia, who is a member of Desertification International, member of the advisory board, but also now chair of the FAO International Network of Soil-Affected Soils in SAS. Thank you, Jorge, to be with us.
Good afternoon. Excuse me, I must excuse the presence of Dr. Rosa Poch because she had a former appointment for another meeting that is just starting at this time. So she asked me to apologize. Thank you.
Thank you. And last, we have at least we have Mr. Pier Paolo Saporito. Are you here? No? Mr. Saporito?
Yes, thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. So you are chair or president of OCAM, the Observatory for Cultural and Audiovisual Communication in the Mediterranean, and now in the world also.
Yes.
And okay, and you are also high-level advisor of the United Nations Alliance for ICTs and Development. So it's very interesting to have you with us because it's a new perspective you could open in this discussion about the scientific support to the Greek North. So we can start by one question to Giovanna, to Professor Giovanna Sedaiu. The Desertification Research Center of the University of Sassari offers many examples of international scientific cooperation to combat desertification and land degradation. Can you give us some examples which would enlighten our insights on how science could support the Green Wall implementation?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So thank you very much, Youssef. It was very interesting to have the opportunity to listen to the first speakers because I have learned a lot of things about these great green initiatives, and I found several similarities in terms of the paradigm some initiatives that are currently carried out by the Desertification Research Center of the University of Sassari. So I think that I can first of all share with you a very recent, quite recent initiative that is, I think, it could be very representative and an example, a nice example also for for achieving one of the goals of this Great Green Wall initiative, that is food security. Of course, in degraded land and in arid lands. In fact, the Desertification Research Center is coordinating since October 2020 an Horizon 2020 project that is on sustainable intensification in African farming systems. This concept of sustainable intensification is really referring to achieving food security by reducing the gap between the potential productivity of farming systems and the actual productivity. In fact, we all know that there is a big difference, a huge difference in many countries. There is a yield gap. For example, maize-based farming systems that are very common in all the sub-Saharan African countries can produce even 10 times less than the potential productivity. The reasons are very, can vary a lot. And of course, the land degradation and desertification processes are among the most important challenges. So this project is really aiming to develop food production systems that are promoting this sustainable intensification. So really reducing this gap between yield potential and the actual yield of the most important African farming systems without adverse effects. So without impacting the environment, but promoting really sustainable agricultural and land management practices. What I can say that is this parallelism between this Great Green Wall and this project that is called EVA Belt is this metaphor. I understood that the Great Green Wall is using the concept of wall as a metaphor as a mosaic patchwork of sustainable land management and restoration interventions. And this is a metaphor, really, even if at the beginning, as we have heard at the beginning, actually it was really to build a tree wall. But now it's more, there was, let's say, a paradigm shift in my understanding that it's really using the wall as a metaphor. And also this project that we are coordinating is using a strong metaphor that is strongly similar, related to this wall concept, that is the belt. So we are aiming to realize, to enhance, to reinforce a belt around all from west to east African countries in order to promote these sustainable intensification processes. And how we are going to do this? By promoting and implementing several actions. The project will last 4 years, and we are just at the beginning. But of course, it was built from the lessons learned of all the knowledge already achieved from all the consortium. So it was said, for example, by Paul and Rosa Maria, the importance of integrated approach. And in fact, in this project, the integration is a key word. So we want to integrate innovative and traditional agricultural practices. We want with plant protection technologies and the strong information and communication tools. All this integration is really a core business of Verabent, of this project. For example, we want to work on the valorization of neglected and underutilized crops, such as fonio, for example, enset, cassava. And Nora was speaking about this seed mobilization. That is a very strong challenge because most of these crops, these local crops, are very useful, but are very little valorized, and very often it's quite difficult to find the seed. So we want to promote also the seed market, and we want to improve also the performances of these neglected and underutilized crops. Then we want also to assess soil and water management practices that are integrated between innovative and also traditional practices. So the traditional knowledge is very important in this project. And we are working also on the implementation of a remote diagnostic network that we call the plant head, that is, let's say, that was informed from the concept of, for example, of telemedicine. And the idea is to promote a real-time diagnosis for plant pests and diseases that should be as cheaper as possible and reliable for end users in African rural communities. Another key word is participatory approaches and local communities empowerment. All our actions of this Verabent project will be developed within farmer field research units. This is a concept that is a bit similar to the more famous living labs, for example, but is really strongly focused on the role of the farmers, householders, as decision makers. So finally, all these actions that we will obtain through this project will be shared, discussed, and revised, and retested in an iterative loop and participatory loop among Eastern and Western African regions in order to create this belt that can be assimilated to the concept of the wall for the Great Green Wall. Yeah, so very briefly, this was one of the initiatives that we wanted to share, and we are very happy that to share with all of you, and also to learn from all of you how to promote our action. So any advice, will be more than welcome.
Thank you very much, Giovanna. Maybe if you may, Professor Jorge, Mr. Pier Paolo Saporito, in fact, is working with Giovanna on the same project. There is a connection between them, and we would be very interested to see what kind of partnership they have built together in this field. So if you allow me, Professor Jorge,
Yes,
I will ask directly Mr. Pier Paolo Saporito. Thank you, Jorge.
Thank you.
Mr. Pier Paolo Saporito, considering the green wall and the challenges we discussed during these presentations, during these events, and having in mind that OCAM was founded with a mission to fight poverty and effectively as possible using the new technologies.
Yes.
What is your perception of the situation with regard to the Green Wall Initiative? And how do you see digital communications as a strategy for combating desertification and land degradation in fertile areas? So it's in fact the link you have with, I think, Belt.
Yes, so thank you. OCA was created by UNESCO exactly to fight poverty to the new technology. We was 20 years ago started the digital revolution. We started with the villages, rural villages in African Honduras to understand what are the real needs, and we understood how with the satellite connection and with the capacity to give the internet and the progressive, the other services, how the community can improve. That was the ICT village model, was launched in Tunis, also the summit, and on this wave we was asked to create a conference, international conference, Info Poverty. Info Poverty is a great program. Maybe I can share my screen just for a while. And Info Poverty born in 2001, exactly sharing the results. We was convinced that the community, rural community, the villages can have themselves a great capacity if we give the capacity, the knowledge, the services. And now it's much more easy than before because in a few years there is a great possibility. Everyone is connected, so it's much more easy to share, to assist that community. And to do that, we have that Info Poverty conference is every year at the UN. You can see at the UN Web TV, you see all the previous conference, and we present the results. Result means from the bottom, and we learn a lot. It's all the UN system involved, because until now we think the technology are more devoted to our market, to our needs, and not to the poor people and to the African people. But when you start, you have a great result, etc. For that reason, we have started also to understand how you can detect the cultivation, the phytopathology. You can do far away, etc. So in that way, it was born that alliance with Sassari, also with all. And we demonstrate how the capacity building of the farmer can be a lot of many accelerated. But I agree with the colleague, because the problem of desertification is a global problem. For that reason, the digital can offer a great possibility to help the people, but not in terms of donation, but in terms to empower them to work with that. And that is exactly our task with all partners in terms to understand how in each different position. For instance, during the Expo 2015, with the European Space Agency, we have tried to apply the technology, the mass water detection. And it's not so difficult. 200 kilometers square kilometer, you can have an image and 1,200 meters down. So that means we have tried to start, that is an open project, to have a land fertility map, because in Sahara it's still full of water, and UNESCO make the wide map. There is a lot of things are advanced, but to come with a great convergence of the competence, I think in each sector we can improve. Now we are very convinced we are preparing the next conference in terms of how we can build the next digital society inclusive, because that is not just a dream, but after the COVID, after the fall of the governmental way, after so many change, we think a lot of new community, the people can have the floor. In particular, the poor people are more than 3 billion, now are connected. They have the tools. They can work with the digital tools. So it's our duty to share knowledge. So our task with all the system, every year I will invite everybody of you to participate, to present the results, because results is the facts are very important to convince the people, to convince also the investor, to convince the government, to convince the minister. Not only the idea of projects. And the facts are successful if they involve the people, the community, the basic. So that is our philosophy. We are very proud to work with in the EWA belt. Also, always at the UNCCD participate, and it's a very magic moment now, because with the COVID change a lot. So the old ancien regime is full. So now we need to build a new dimension, and the new dimension could be only by digital, right use of digital. For that reason, we are all connected now. We can work very easily, not waste time and money, but that is our way to win the battle. And thank you so much for inviting me, and I hope to work and collaborate. And one thing I forgot is we try to create a platform with all of data to share, because just to have that data, and the risk is to have a lot of data close in each institution. But if this data can be shared to the user, to the people, that means a lot of richness to share to the people. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, you. And I'm very interested to see the positive impact of COVID for you as an opportunity to contribute to build a new digital inclusive society. I hope we can. Thank you very much. And sorry,
we
please.
knew each other because there was so dramatic story. Never humanity that terrible. So that teaching something to humanity, to the people, to everybody. So that is our moment to work, to act. Thank you.
Thanks to you. Professor Jorge Arteshayes.
Thank you.
We arrive at the end of the presentation. Before, I hope that we have time to have some questions to each other. Professor Jorge, you are a chair of this network on this international network of South African soils in SAS. Could you tell us about the role of this FAO network and the link with combating desertification in the context of the Great Green Wall? Do you see clearly links there?
Yes, of course. I will give you some background. I teach in environmental sciences at my university, and one of the courses that I deliver is indicators and environmental monitoring. And another one is environmental impact assessment. And one of my concerns was transmitting to my students that we are evolving in the indicators generations, because we started with physical parameters, physical-chemical, for describe certain environments, but the conceptual model has evolved, taking into account so many aspects that have been excellent presented by the precedent speakers here. So in this framework, we should not only take care of the indicators of how the properties are changing, but as well, and it is very important, why? What are the pressures and what are the factors that are determining this change? In this sense, I think that we should mention here this World Atlas of Desertification that was published by the Joint Research Center of the European Union 3 years ago, and several of the advisory board of this publication, and as well contributors are, many of them are from DesertNet International, so they are involved in this task, not only in projects, but as well in making the whole picture to allow others to understand what is the points to focus on. And in this publication, it is well developed, this third generation of indicators that, giving all these complex relationships in between not only the physical and biological environment, but social, political, and as well this policy, and so many bubbles that interact with each other, and that's why it is not so easy to give solutions, because in fact we should consider that most, not any, but most of us, we are specialists in some of the fields, and it is this thematic approach. It is as well needed, of course, and fortunately we are now in the idea that this should be integrated before taking decisions and making evaluations. FAO, I should not present you this organization. It has main aim is taking scientific knowledge and translate it in an operational way to the farmers and stakeholders, final stakeholders. And in this sense, FAO has created the International Network of Salt-Affected Soils. It was founded in 2019 in Iqba Center in the Emirates within the Global Soil Partnership. It means that International Soil Science Union of Soil Sciences is there, and as well the Iqba, and as well FAO and Eurasian Center for Desertification and Food Security, so several organizations. And this network, thematic network, started in it was founded, and we did the launch of the network in past April. And then I was honored because of the task to facilitate other members to share their experience and to produce some deliverables that are, in short, I will put in the chat the links of what I am telling, and we have 4 working groups. And the members are from, I can tell you that quite 70% of the countries of the world, and they are telling their preference in 2 of the 4 working groups that we have divided. One is for assessment of the salt-affected soils and mapping. Another is dealing with crops and allophytes as well. Another is dealing with the waters and groundwaters, so hydrologies and irrigation, all these issues are there. And the last one is devoted to develop indicators. And for next actions that we will develop is we will have international symposium that was arranged to be in person in Uzbekistan, in Tashkent, but unfortunately will be virtual. Maybe I will offer that next. So maybe by June of the next year could be presential, and I will offer the candidature of Valencia for that, having as well study cases and field excursions together with the Congress. And we will launch the world map of salt-affected soils by this symposium, and as well the status of salt-affected soils. In the web page, you can find the process. If some of you are interested, how to apply to be member. It is everybody is welcome. The only condition is to your organization should be member of the Global Soil Partnership, and your interest, you can participate and get informed of all the activities of the network. And so we started with these working groups. We have already done a round. It seems that one of the main interesting things is that, as here, members have know each other and have presented their work and expertise and the possibilities of collaboration. And so in this fact, the network is giving yearly good results now after such working sessions. And that's from my side, that the main information I can give to you. Well, I only finally will add my idea of that this great green wall is a huge task. It is very, very important, and it is difficult because along this thousands of kilometers, you have different rocks, different soils, and different conditions for plants and so on. And then maybe the idea that was presented here, I want as well underline that maybe a part of trees planting maybe another fringe of buffered fringe could be done by shrubs and other plants that can make a buffer and that are better adapted to abiotic stress coming from salinity, coming from warm temperature stress or scarcity of nutrients, and so maybe if this idea, this is my idea. I have not experiences in this area of the world, but in the network there are specialists that are dealing in this case with salinity in all those countries that this hearing is passing by. Thank you very much for inviting me, and congratulations for the event.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jorge. Dr. Saiz, you open room for cooperation with all the rich information you provide. I think that there is certainly room for, in particular, for the Great Green Wall, for the scientific approach on the Great Green Wall. Thank you very much. We have time is more than 4:10. I would like, by the end, if you agree, because we don't have many questions for the panelists as for the speakers, I would like, in terms of information, if Giovanna could conclude this roundtable by presenting this innovative PhD the University of Sassari is promoting, this PhD on desertification and land degradation, and I think that you can conclude the event on this very optimistic information.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Yeah, so I have to say that this initiative to develop a PhD program on desertification and land degradation was first of all promoted strongly from DesertNet International, in fact. And it was so the idea, the very ambitious idea, is to create an international PhD program on desertification and degradation. To our knowledge, there is nothing similar in the world. Since the procedure of the development of this kind of PhD program is something quite complex and long, we decided just to start as a first step to develop a curriculum of this on desertification and land degradation within a PhD program already in place of the University of Sassari. So I can say that this idea, the concept of promoting this kind of PhD program on desertification and degradation was also, as Youssef may say, also circulated, this first idea also within the UNCCD, and so this opportunity today is of great value, really, to advertise this initiative, and also to ask for anyone who wants to help and is interested in developing more this initiative toward the ambitious goal to create really a PhD program itself, not a curriculum in something already existing. So all of you are more than welcome. So there is already a call that was launched and there is a position, and I will send, okay, I just sent in the chat the link for the to the call. In the first part is written everything in Italian, then in the second part there is the English version. So you can find there some details on how to apply. And as I told you, the EvaBell project that I presented before is funding the first PhD scholarship this year, and the deadline is the 1st of July. So the idea is to have a PhD student working within EvaBelt, so this sustainable intensification, but having a very specific focus on addressing desertification and land degradation issues. So please circulate as much as possible in your networks. We really want to find very nice candidates for this position, and also contact us, DesertNet International, me, Youssef, and the DesertNet International Secretariat, in order to, if you are interested to know more.
Giovanna?
Yes. Yes.
Before you conclude, I see that Elvis is still here. Elvis?
Okay.
Just with regard to what Giovanna said, and the fact that the University of Sassari, with the support of the NI, we promoted the creation of a PhD on desertification and land degradation. I wish us to be in touch with the African Commission to endorse this concept, and to see at the African Commission, Union Commission level, and with UNCCD Secretariat, if we can look for fellowships for African students. I think that it's very important at the political level to endorse this kind of initiative, and together to empower this initiative into the African universities, so that we can have African scientists working on these issues. We have till now 2 or 3 universities in Africa having an agreement with the University of Sassari. The idea now is for them to concretely be able to send applicants, and if they succeed, to be able to support them financially. So I think that Elvis, after this meeting, we will keep in touch for that.
Yeah, yes, I was very interested with all the presentations from Pier Paolo, from George, and from Giovanni, because these are the kind of innovation that, you know, that we are looking for, especially if you have to get young people to get interested in what we are doing. You are not going to be telling them about women that are digging, not even about the tractors. They won't really be interested, because, but if you look at what Pier Paolo was saying about the use of ICT, the use of innovative communication technology now, it's very, very important if we need to attract the young and the fresh minds to enhance implementation, and of course ensure sustainability of the program. And also the whole issue of the PhD is very, 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 very important. I know the Pan-African Agency have toyed and played with the whole idea before, but I don't know where it ended. But I think this is very practical, and I would first of all like to thank Giovanni for bringing this idea, you know, and for sharing this information, which I will really, if she can share the information so that I can share it within my ranks and the other institution that we work with. It's a very important topic now, you know, as we try to restore and I think research especially research, practical research like that of a PhD in desertification would really have resonance in the whole restoration atmosphere. We are all in these meetings together, Yusuf. We hardly talk about these things. We've not yet had a program that talk about education, about developing a curriculum for all these things, for restoration. We are still dependent on classical, old-fashioned masters and PhD topics that schools are still proposing. We've not really talk about things like, looking particularly at aspects like desertification, So this is very, very important, and I would really like us to continue the discussion. And of course, we could push it through the AU and processes, and also with the regs, to say this is something we have. If you don't remember, we have the Pan-African University here with campuses all over the whole place. And one of the courses that they do is I think they do something that is linked to environment and climate change. So it can be very also important to connect with the Pan-African University. They have campuses all over the whole Africa, in Ibadan, in Nairobi, in Yaoundé, and I think this is a very good way of getting it. Let's talk with the Pan-African University colleagues at the Secretariat here, and then we can see how we can push this up to the level where it becomes part of their school curriculum, because we need it. We really, really need it, yeah.
Yes, just to provide some more details and to be very pragmatic, the process, so we are thinking to develop this PhD program on desertification and degradation that is something, a reality itself. We are thinking of a one-year process. So to become a reality, we need more or less 1 year of work of doing this. But at the same time, we can, in parallel, work to expand the number of African universities involved in this international program, because so far we have one university from Ethiopia and a couple from Burkina Faso. But of course we are interested in and expanding and widening pretty much this consortium. And also to look for studentships. This is very important. So we can work in different ways, and with the goal to create something that is not exactly the University of Sassari, but is really an international PhD program.
Exactly, yeah. Very good.
Okay, we have, Giovanna, we have 5 minutes left to close for this Zoom link, so maybe you could kindly conclude.
Yes, so very briefly, because we really are very late and I think that people is very tired now. I think this is so I would like to conclude on behalf of the director of the Desertification Research Center, NRD, that is the new director is Quirico Migueli, who was not able to join us because he's traveling in this moment, and also the staff of Desertification Research Center. It's really this day. Every year we celebrate this day. Organizing this kind of event, and this year was as always, very interesting. We had very important personalities sharing their knowledge. And what really was impressive from my point of view, it was the richness of these initiatives within the Great Green Wall, and also the fact that the African Union and FAO and all these organizations were so, how do you say, coraggiosi? I don't know the. So, help me, Chiara. So? Brave, yes, so brave, sorry. They were so brave to change the paradigm shift. So, the beginning was this wall, this concept of wall, considering just forestation and tree planting. But so they were very brave, understanding that was needed something a bit different, more complex, more ambitious, but really for sure more effective and more respectful of the local communities and the local needs. So it was very interesting, really very, very interesting. So thanks to all. I hope to have the chance to interact with many of you in the near future, and maybe to meet in presence. That will be so nice.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think that we can close and
goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you very much. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you very much, Joseph, and thanks very much. And let's keep in touch.
We keep in touch. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
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 Recording stopped.